find on all four scriptures of the gospel. So it took major importance for the early Christians. And in a little while, I'll tell you why. But it also reminds me of this joke. You know, the sacristan usually in the church, he knows more than the priest, because the priest comes and goes, and the sacristan is always there. He knows all the traditions. He's always trying to tell the priest what to do and what not to do. They're like that. So this sacristan this young priest came in. This young priest came in, and the sacristan started to pick on him. And he said, "Listen, I'm the pastor here, and I make no mistakes. And when I wait until it's over and let me know." Well, he was preaching all enthusiastically about this gospel. And he said, what a great miracle. Jesus, with 5,000 fish and 3,000 bread, fed over 5 people. And he kept going on. And the sacristan at the end of the mass said, "I got it." He said, "Father, did you notice that he kept saying, with 5,000 fish and 3,000 bread, Jesus fed over 5 people?" So, "Oh, no problem. That's no mistake. I'll correct it next week." So, the next Sunday, he starts preaching, and he goes on, "My dear brothers, going back to last week's sermon, wasn't that a marvelous deed of God, of Jesus, with 5 fish and 3 bread, fed over 5,000 people? Isn't that great, tremendous? Would anybody here be possible to do that?" And the gentleman at the back was out speaking, "Father, I will." "You?" "Yes, how? With the rest left over from last week." At the heart of today's gospel, it's giving, about giving. And there's 2 ways of giving. One way is giving that which we can risk to give without being without for ourselves. That doesn't hurt. But the second way of giving, and it hurts, is that you give what you need as well as the people who receives it. Sister Teresa, or Mother Teresa of Calcutta, she tells us that she picked up a portion of rice and decided to go to an Hindu family next door to her and give them, because she heard they have been without food for quite a while. So as she brings it in, what really surprised her, the lady, the mother of the house, picked up that portion and divided it in half and took it to the Muslim family next door. And Mother Teresa was, "But you barely have enough for yourselves. How can you do that?" She said, "They also have been without food for more than 40 weeks. That kind of giving hurts. But that's a giving that comes from our heart. And we see many examples of that with Jesus as he talks about the widow that gives her last penny and all that. I had the privilege of working in Brazil for 10 years. And I worked in northeast Brazil, in Maranhão, very poor his families. And because of their poverty and the weather conditions, lifespan can be very short. And it wouldn't be uncommon for a group of children to lose one of their parents, especially their mother. And I witnessed this myself many times. All of a sudden, the father has left 3, 4, 5, 6 children, and he's the only bread earner, and what am I going to do now? And all the neighbors would go reach out, I'll take that one, I'll take that one, and they take the children. And they didn't saucer in need. But there's a saying that even Pope Francis used when he went to Brazil. You can always add a little more water to the beans. That means they are more open to giving than anybody else. And that's what Jesus is talking about today. We need to be generous in giving. Generous and giving with love. Because anything that is done in the name of love surpasses all the hurdles that we encounter in life. Also, this reading brings us to the great giving of Jesus Christ himself, both in his word and in the Eucharist. In the Eucharist, Jesus feeds our hearts and souls for eternity. Food feeds our human life. But we need as much feeding spiritually as we need physically. And that this reminds us that when we do care for one another, we don't let those beside us go hungry. We come home from the Eucharist fulfilled, or we should come fulfilled, because we now do not only have the physical feeding that we need, but we need to have also the spiritual fulfillment that will give us the strength and nourish our love for God and one another. As that little saying of St. Francis of Assisi, it is giving that we receive. So let us ask God in this Eucharist that we don't have to give much, but the little that we give may be done with love. Just like the little boy, St. John says, it's the little boy who had 5 fish and 3 bread. It was much for that boy. But when we give to the Lord, things multiply, they grow. So may that willingness and willingness that we depend on God's grace and love by giving not only of our material things, but one of the most demanding, as we did now with this COVID-19 we know, is giving